and we will get started.
Okay, so the good thing is we're having a small couple of students here is we can just do what you guys need to focus on, because I really don't know where you're at in terms of your level of essay writing or experience of essay writing. You said that you've done some...
Yeah, when I was like 15, 16, I was proper English essay.
English essay, so a few years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we're only like talking over 20 years ago.
20 years ago. Yeah, okay. So, yeah.
So I'm pretty much basic.
Let's just go back to the beginning.
Business writing.
Business writing. Yeah, so you do business writing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess a lot of the same principles apply from business writing through to essay writing. I mean, you've obviously got the focus on your grammar and your spelling and your professional presentation and how it all looks and things. I guess essay writing is a little bit different. We're going to tonight just have a look at see. Focus on just trying to develop those skills a little bit, and if this is just the first session of many, that's fine. We can have more sessions, or if there's something specific you want to focus on, then we can do some more work. But yeah, I thought we'd just get started anyway and look a little bit at the purpose. Why are we doing it? What is the structure and what is the format, I guess. So, what do you think? What is the purpose of you writing these essays for these courses?
So you know we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, good. Yeah, primarily. Yeah. So, I mean, think about that. You think, when you're thinking about the purpose, it is about showing that you know what you're learning about in the course that you're studying, or the courses. And it is about showing that to us so that we are the target audience. You know, these don't go to other people to read except for moderation purposes. But yeah, so thinking about that. But it is also, the purpose of an essay is also obviously to inform your reader, give them the information they need, and you possibly to analyse issues and present possible solutions to those. Or you might be collating a whole range of sort of research about a particular topic, so it might be more research focused. And the overall purpose might vary a little bit depending on the course and the topic that you're presenting with. So, like in regards to the topics, what Emily, you might have been familiar with the previous style of assessments was that we'd ask a whole lot of short answer questions and you would write a sentence or a couple of sentences in order to answer those. Essentially what we're doing here is quite different. We'll ask an overall topic question, like write about the effect of social media and marketing. That's really broad, obviously, and then focus down on some particular key points that you need to cover. So I guess the secret when it comes to writing your essays to making sure you feel like you've answered all the aspects of the question that have been posed to you. And that's the real challenge.
Do you have like do you show like the total marks on the question?
So the essays come with a rubric marking schedule for most of them, I believe. I can pull one up and have a look. That's helpful, that's very So for example, this is the first one for this subject and it tells you what the learning outcomes are. It doesn't, not showing you anything at all. Hang on, I've got to change my display. It doesn't automatically duplicate. And we can zoom in a bit there. So we'll tell you, usually what the learning outcome is. So what is it that you're trying to cover? Essays are usually worth quite a large proportion of your marks for a paper, so 25, 30, 35% of a particular paper. And you will also be given a due date, obviously, as to when you need to submit by. Word count is usually sort of 1,500 to 2,000 words. So we're talking reasonable, it's a reasonable number of words, and that's usually excluding any sort of reference list that goes at the end. So we're talking there about the key content making up as more words. So as you can see for this one, there's an overall topic explaining how an organisation making planning decisions takes into account the external environment using Pestel factors for general macro environment, and Porter's 5 forces for the competitive microenvironment, and apply your answer to an organisation of your choice, and discuss the most important factors for it and why. So the key thing we've got to draw out here initially is with your little highlighter is what are the there's like 4 different parts to that, just in that two long sentences. Yeah, we've got to explain the Pestel, explain the Porter's 5 forces, apply it to an organisation of our choice, discuss the important factors and why. And then in here it's further elaborating in your answer. Make sure you do these particular things. Okay, so provide a summary, undertake micro-environmental analysis, identify minimum key drivers for organisational change. So that's sort of the example of what the question might look like, and then your marking schedule will look like this. This is called a rubric. And it will sort of give you a range. So it'll give you the criteria down the side. So you've summarised the chosen business. Not suitable, it's not clearly explained, there's an adequate explanation, it's selected, it's a good explanation that you've given, and then it's an excellent explanation. So basically you get somewhere in that range from nothing through to it's an excellent, as a sort of response to that particular aspect of that assessment task. Okay, so you just need to make sure when you're working through them that you are referring back to that marking rubric as you're answering and checking off that you've met all of those particular criteria as well. So I guess that is quite an important aspect of the whole essay, making sure you're answering the question and double checking yourself that you think you're meeting the requirements in the marking rubrics. Any questions? Fair enough?
Yeah. You won't know till we've done the first one, will we?
You won't know till you really sit down and look at that first assessment. But I suppose the difference really with a business report versus an essay is a business report you often use headings and subheadings and you break it down into sections and you might number it. Essays, we don't typically do that. Essays are typically just written in paragraph format. I mentioned that, that's fine. And so it's about trying to make sure you cover all of those key ideas within those paragraphs that you're outlining. So start at the start. I mean, brainstorming what you're going to talk about initially and making sure you've got some key points and getting those ideas down on paper is a good starting point. So do a bit of planning about how you're going to answer those particular questions. Your structure of your essay is we start the writing part. So the introduction should be 5 to 10% of the word count, so 75 to 150 words. We're not talking huge long introduction. We're talking about a paragraph or 2 paragraphs. There we're basically stating what is your main idea and the purpose of the essay. So in that way you're almost repeating the question, like just rephrasing it in a slightly different way. But you also want to make it interesting, engage your reader. Like for the example that we just looked at, it says which organisation you're going to talk about. You would introduce the organisation to some extent there in your introduction as well. So your final sentence or two needs to clearly state what is the purpose of this essay and the structure, and that's your lead-in to the main body of your essay. Feel free to pipe up then if you have anything to add.
There's just one thing I thought about when you had that question up on the board. One person that seems to know quite a lot about this, which is neither me nor Kate, says that when you get a question like that,
Yeah.
which has got quite a lot of things in it,
Yeah.
what they suggest you do is read it over reasonably just once. Don't stop and try and fix things up. Read it over down to the bottom, and that sort of puts into your head the idea of what's this all about. Then they suggest you read it a second time and start filling notes out to the side. Oh, I know what pestle is. It's political, economic, and blah, 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 blah. And then read it a third time when you actually start to put bits together. So I'm going to put that in the introduction, and I'm going to put that in the first paragraph.
If I was writing that essay, I would be referring back to that question over and over again to jog my mind about what it is I need to be writing about. And to be checking as I go that I'm covering all of those things. I mean, sometimes with a question like that, where there's quite a lot involved, you're going to find 2,000 words flies by, and you may even struggle to get it within the 2,000 words. So your challenge might not be writing, how am I going to write 2,000 words? Your challenge might be, how am I going to limit this to 2,000 words and make sure that the words I use are the most pertinent and useful words I could be using.
So that word count up there, 150 words, if you're into Times New Roman or Calibri, that's about a half a page.
Yeah.
Unreally writing.
Yeah.
You're running at about 300 a page for
Yeah.
unreally.
So only 10 pages.
That's the introduction. Yeah, so for total, I need 10 pages.
That's right, though, they do power fast.
Yeah.
You start to read along.
Yeah, I think that's where I kind of go on a tangent. I'm like, what are they talking about? I have to bring it back. So I think, yeah.
That's the challenge, is you start to go off on your own little spin, and then you run out of words and you go, oh, well, that'll do, but you haven't necessarily covered all parts of the question. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're going to make sure that you go back and check that you've covered all the parts.
I also find leaving something for a couple of days and then coming
Yeah.
back again, because if you read something over and over and over again, you start to lose the words, you know what's supposed to be in it.
Put it aside for a week.
Yeah.
And come back to it next weekend and go, well, why did I write that?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
So that's really, really helpful strategy. So you leave yourself enough
Good
time
idea.
to do that. We will.
Use your subconscious word. The other wee thing I just thought about too was, if we're into business writing, when you get those sort of questions with got about 3 or 4 things on them, put a number beside it, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the time then you know you're going to do 4 bits in this essay.
Yeah. So structuring the essay is about breaking those ideas up into different sections and making sure you, even if we're not using headings and subheadings, we can still break it into sort of sections and making sure that we're covering them off, and then breaking those sections down into paragraphs. Okay. So the main body is where we're actually presenting the answers to the topics that's been set, and thinking about, each paragraph is really structured around one main idea. So this is basically a helpful way of going, trying to avoid those really long paragraphs or each paragraph that are too short. Each paragraph needs to have a topic statement. So this is what this paragraph is about. Some example or evidence or arguments or research that you found around it. And then a wee summary or even a linking statement at the end of that paragraph. So keep it to one main idea and then move on to the next idea in the next paragraph, essentially. The evidence that you're going to be collecting here could be from a wide range of sources. So we obviously can use the reading material that you provided in class. You might find that you do additional research outside of that using internet or online or our library here. And we've got access to the online catalogues, so we can get a lot more academic articles rather than just what we can find on Google. Although I point out to you that on Google you can change your search preference to Google Scholar, where you will come up with more academic articles rather than just straight Google. So when you do a Google search, you can, I'm going to try and show you, and it probably won't be able to find it, but anyway. If you duplicate, oh yeah, mine am duplicating, that's good.
If you've got like a draft in progress that's not necessarily finished,
Yeah.
will we able to send it in and say like, am I structuring this okay, or?
Yeah, I would definitely. I think that's a really useful way to go about it. Is to, especially for the first couple, is to send them in and check if you're on the right track. But we're only going to be prepared to probably do that like once for each assignment, for each person. We're not going to be reviewing multiple drafts. So get it to a point where you think it's pretty good, run it past somebody else, then send it in to us for some feedback if you feel that you need that, and then we can give you some feedback on that.
And don't send one in that says, I'm just like to see if I'm on the right track. I've just started it, would you have a look?
Yeah.
Then I'll have a look, it's got one sentence.
Somewhere in Google, you can go to Google Scholar. So Google Scholar will, so say if you were searching a particular topic around social media marketing, you come up with more academic type articles. The problem with that sometimes is you can't necessarily access them, they want you to pay money. Don't pay money. If you find something that's interesting, see if our librarians can get hold of it for you. They are really helpful with that. And also you can access you should be able to access this from home, access the Taipōtini Library and the whole WorldCat. So if you go to an advanced search, you go social media, you can use keywords, or you can try by author or by title, and put marketing in there as well. Social media and marketing search, and this is basically searching international databases. That's got just check the box down the side. It says Taipōtini Library. You want libraries worldwide, will open that up. You can just search New Zealand if you're looking for New Zealand specific, or you can go worldwide. Social media marketing an hour a day. There's an ebook. Strategies for engaging in Facebook. Whatever. So you can. Some of them are ebooks. Some of them are. And you can search by things that are full text, so that you know that you're going to get something that you can actually read. And you can search by things that are peer reviewed. Peer reviewed basically means that other academics have read the article and verified it, and there's some kind of credibility there to that document, which is a little bit more credible than just anything that you found off Google. Google's got some great stuff, don't get me wrong, but you don't necessarily know that it's true. Anyone can put up anything. So here, peer reviewed means that it's been reviewed by peers and colleagues, and synergistic effects of social media and traditional marketing on brand sales. View the full text article.
So does that mean the book is in the library, or it's just on the internet?
We might just have an ebook version of it, or we might have a hard copy in the library. You can search our library catalogue to see what we've got in hard copy as well. If it comes up with your username and your password, I'm pretty sure your username is your student ID number. What's your password? I might have to find out that one for you. I can't remember off the top of my head. You don't remember? No. Yeah, so there will be a password you can access if you use to access it. So there are lots of sources of information for us to look at there.
And basically everything we read, we should jot down, because that becomes part of our reference.
Exactly. So as you're writing your essay, and I'll talk about this when we do the session on APA referencing, but definitely as you start writing, make a note of this, keep a record of the source of the material that you're using, because you will have to include a reference list for anything that you cite in the essay. You don't need to do a full bibliography. Like a bibliography is just anything that you read in relation to writing the essay. What you have to do is a reference list, which is basically just anything you referred to or cited in the essay. We keep a list at the end using that APA format. So definitely, and there's nothing worse than having a brilliant quote from some, an amazing scholar written into your essay as, really good example, and then you cannot remember where you found that quote. Yeah. And you search through your stack of articles that's this high, trying to read every single one of them all over again to find that quote again, and it drives you crazy.
Sounds like you've had experience.
I've been there and I've done that, so please learn from my mistakes. Definitely as you go, just write down, even if you're not necessarily going to use that article, just jot down the source so that you've got it there. When it comes time to write your reference list, you can go, yes, I did cite them, or I didn't cite them, I'll cut that in, or I'll leave that out, or whatever.
When is the referencing?
When we're doing referencing on, not this Wednesday, the Wednesday after, and we're doing it on the evening class on the Monday after that.
Okay.
So, straight after class again.
Yeah.
I think it was the 9th or something.
Yeah, 6:30, yeah. I was going to do it straight after, but of course it was Easter, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
So the body of your essay should be the bulk of your essay, obviously, in terms of your word count. So 1,200 words. Questions?
I'm lost.
You're lost! I know, I talk too fast, but we're going to look a little bit at paragraphs and things as well, but essay structure, the conclusion should never introduce anything new. You shouldn't get to the conclusion and go, oh, I've discovered this new idea, I just thought of it, I'll write it in here. No. Okay, conclusion again, and it might seem repetitive, but they're essentially just summarising the key ideas all over again. Restating the main arguments of your essay, summarising the main points, and just wrapping up in a nice kind of finished kind of way.
Public speaking, isn't it? The introduction, tell them what you're going to tell them.
Yeah.
The middle bit is tell them what you want to tell them. The third bit is tell them what you told them.
Yeah. Pretty much, the same applies.
It does really.
Yeah. So, you think, oh, this is, and I don't want to just see a cut and copy of your introduction, because it should have a slightly different tone, your conclusion. It should be like, hey, see, look, I've presented these great arguments as to, to answer the question, I've used this evidence, and in summary, this is what I can, this is the conclusion that has been drawn. So yeah, again, it's a small proportion of the 150 words. So introduction, main body, conclusion. I guess what I mentioned before was, that initially in that planning, sort of brainstorming the idea. So here's a practice for you guys. Individually, brainstorm a couple of ideas on the topic. Describe how technology has enhanced our society. Jot down a few ideas. You'll have some good ones for this too.
Yeah, faculty has technology.
Yeah.
Helped us.
Shall we share a few of those ideas? Emily, what have you got?
I've got accessibility, like for example, essay writing, instead of having to read like a whole book, you can just Google what it is.
Yes, oh my gosh, I know. We have this huge accessibility of information. It's, almost information overload. Yeah, right.
So have you got something?
Yeah.
Right, I've got computers and phones linking to communication, making communication easier with emailing and quicker.
Yeah, okay, easier and quicker communication. It's instant, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, can you remember you used to have to phone somebody and arrange to meet at a certain time in a certain place? And
You had to be home to answer the phone.
I need to be home to answer the phone in order to meet that person there, and now you just track them with Find My Friends, and you say, oh, I know, I can see that you're standing on the corner outside the movie theatre, and I'll be there in 2 minutes. So yes, easier, quicker communication, texting, emails is much faster. Okay, any other ideas?
I have communication as well, but I got convenience, like banking apps and stuff like that. You don't have to make a trip to town.
Yes, apps. Apps, we just do everything with an app.
I've got historical records because they're all put on and we've been research for years now, whereas before you'd have to get involved.
Good. Record keeping. Oh, yeah, technologies hugely enhance our record keeping abilities.
But it's kind of everywhere. Like you go to work, you use it for emails, you use it like we're doing most of our business stuff all on the computer.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. If we didn't have that nowadays,
Yeah.
we wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Okay. Any other key ideas?
I've got video conferencing because it's that instant thing.
Yeah, we see, and it goes into our communication.
Exactly,
as well. And our globalisation. Yeah, we see too anywhere from anywhere.
Well,
You can have a
huge
marketing class.
corporations use it.
Yeah, marketing class for Ian from London and
Yeah.
sorts of things. Okay, so quick. Okay, how would you structure that essay in a logical way then? We've got some brainstorm, some ideas. How are you going to structure it?
We start by introducing
Yeah.
it.
Introducing the topic.
Yes, and describing how technology.
Yeah.
Rewording the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, technology has enhanced our society in many ways. Yes.
But not all.
No, there's downsides, yes.
Okay, good. There are disadvantages.
It
So
has
there are
excesses which produce negative social effects.
negative
Yes.
advantages and disadvantages can be incorporated in here. Huh?
So you would still put the disadvantages in, even though they want to know how it's enhanced it, because that's almost a contradiction.
It is almost a contradiction, but you could build in the negative side of it as well. It depends how your word count is going, like
Yeah.
it's not directly answering the question, but it is also, sometimes it's also good to play the devil's advocate in these sorts of things and to put both sides of the story, You could say that it hasn't enhanced our society. And some people have written brilliant essays that completely contravene the actual intention of the topic.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could play the opposite and say actually no, it hasn't enhanced our society. For
You
these
have to
reasons.
be careful,
You do.
wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because that does say, that's what that question
does
says.
say how
it
And
has.
so you could, I reckon, you could only flick a sentence or a
Yeah.
sentence
If
and a
that-
half
if you-
if you want.
Especially if you look at our marking rubrics and you go, what
Yeah.
are they really looking for here?
If it had said, discuss how technology has enhanced our society,
Yeah.
that probably invites.
It's a bit more.
Yeah,
But
rather than
it
describing.
says describe.
So it's initial words, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These keywords are really, really important. It's describe, identify. So what's the difference between describe and identify?
Describe when you go into quite
A
more
lengthy
detail.
discussion.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
identify, you can just identify them.
Just list them,
Yeah.
essentially.
It's my business writing.
Yeah.
All the bullet points.
Somewhere in the Moodle, I'm trying
There's a list of
to find it,
keywords.
there's actually a list of
Yeah.
what they call, I'm just reading to today actually, what they call instruction words.
Oh,
So they're the
okay.
opening shot,
These
describe,
are the
discuss,
instructions.
debate,
Evaluate.
examine, evaluate, analyse and
So when they ask for something like, what's your thoughts on this? Or how would you describe, say for example, I've just done a marketing one, how would you describe marketing or something? Is that a, you know, 2-sentence thing because I can describe it? Or do you want like this big long out drawn out to why I've come to that conclusion?
Was that one of the middle, the course forum posts? Yeah, it's usually like they have like a 250 word limit.
It didn't have a limit.
It doesn't have a limit.
Usually, if it's a long one, does it describe and identify and explain, or just
What's your, it's basically what's your interpretation? Are you expecting just a, well my interpretation is marketing is this, and this, or is
they're
it
just
because
looking,
you want
they're
this?
looking for a couple of sentences probably in your own words. And if you looked at a definition in the textbook,
It's very
you can
short.
be creative and
yeah.
change a few words and put it in your own words like the main senses there.
Did you throw in there as well, like in my opinion,
Mm.
like this is, yeah.
Describe. So yeah, in the course forum post, that's fine. Essays, we do tend to avoid the personal pronouns and the opinion-based stuff. We're sort of tending to try and build in, evidence-based discussion around the topic. So, but yes, certainly paying attention, and you will have noticed, and even in that quick one we looked at, that it talked about explain this, identify that. So there's different levels of detail required for those two different tasks. Explain, you probably need a paragraph at least, or maybe two. Identify, you can probably cover off in a quick paragraph. Focus.
We're drifting away a bit in this world from the very formal style, but if you get caught with it, which is quite common in this thing, instead of saying, in my opinion, you generally try and avoid the my, but at least you say something like, it therefore can be argued that,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Some people put it as the opinion of the writer that.
Yes, you can do that.
But
That's
even
the
that,
person.
it's certainly, like the way Ian phrased it, it could be argued
Yeah.
that, or it has been suggested that.
But when we did the degree, there was a bit of research stuff in it, they were perfectly happy for you to say, in my opinion, or
Yeah.
this and that.
Does it depend? Because I think I got taught, like, doing English years ago in high school, is if it asks, like, describe how you think, you can obviously like.
Yes, absolutely, totally.
Yeah.
They're asking you for your opinion,
Yeah.
for your opinion.
Like,
I think.
person of
Yeah.
version or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just about how it's worded. So yeah, you have your introduction, and then you might break it down into different key areas there, so different sections. So we'll talk about the impact for communication, improved communication. We could do a section on accessibility. We could do a section on globalisation, and then we can sum up with our conclusion, whatever. You might, if it was only a 900 word essay, you do polish it off just like that.
Jeez, I hope you're right.
Yeah. But see, all of those different things that you've got there, you could draw into those three sort of sections and cover off all of those key points within those different sort of section areas. They sort of link in together quite a bit. So it's about seeing the connections between the topics and trying to draw them together into a coherent format. It really is an art, and I can't really tell you how to write an essay. You're just going to have to practice and do it. That's the hard part. There are a few tips. Make sure the flow of the information makes sense. So is there a logical order to it?
And so those linking bits come in, isn't
The
it?
linking statements at the end of paragraphs become really important and useful for that. I've got some examples around somewhere. I'll do the next slide. The links also get someone to read it.
Varying sentence length is good. If you have a whole lot of short sentences, I'm going to the shop, I'm then going to go to the data, that sort of becomes very staccato.
That's quite boring to
But
read.
a long sentences are equally boring and drive people nuts because they have to.
Think about it.
So they almost have a rhythm. If you
So get somebody else to read over it. Think about the order of the information, get somebody to read it over, but also the flow of the information and how well it reads. Give yourselves a couple of days away from it and then read it, or get somebody else to read over it and say, does it make sense? Can you follow it? If they look at you blankly, you might need to think about how you've structured the information. Avoid those long, complex sentences. If they have more than 30 words, they're going to be difficult to follow. People often get caught, our students often get
your
caught out.
students are inclined to do that.
It is a common
Thing today. You know, I've seen students go to the whole page without a full stop.
Yeah. So that reading it aloud, honestly, makes a difference, because when you read aloud,
You
you'll
run out
put
of
the full
breath.
stop.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, and if you have trouble with, knowing where to put commas or full stops or colons or semicolons, I've got some quizzes you can do here to actually practice how to use them, appropriately.
Sometimes the Word document kind of helps you out, doesn't it? Like if you've got not enough commas, like gives you like a blue line and then...
Yeah, so definitely use the spelling grammar check feature in Word, because it will pull up where there are some of those issues. But it'll let you write some horrendous sentences.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't exist. Break those really long, convoluted. If you're trying to cover multiple ideas in one sentence, you're probably doing too much. Write one sentence about one idea and write it well, and keep it interesting, and it will be much easier to follow. And you can use those linking words to add a bit of variety. In addition, furthermore, consequently, for example, in other words, therefore. However, those are all sort of linking words that do help you link two shorter sentences together to make them more varied, so that we aren't, ending up with a static kind of, a whole lot of short sentences all in a row. And they do link the ideas, help you link the ideas together and draw them together. And some of that's sort of what we want to see with the essay writing is, taking the content and how does that relate to the example that you're giving, and that follows through, like really show us that you can understand how the examples link back to the subject matter. And use that formal language, so we tend to avoid the personal pronouns, so I and we and us. Keep your tenses consistent, so that's about your verb tense endings. So
Your grammar check should pick that
Grammar
up with a
check.
few comma ones that you wrote, but some people get come and came mixed up all over the place. I
that's
come
right.
back to my house.
Yeah, I've got a few extra handouts here as well. Here's that's what I was going to show you. Yeah, I'll show you that now. I've got a whole section here. I'll bring up. I'll get to it. Topic sentence. So for your paragraph, how we had the structure for the whole essay. We had an introduction, the section, the conclusion. Similar for a paragraph, we have that topic, sentence, the main idea. There is much debate surrounding the safety of childhood vaccines. Okay, we just introduced an idea with one sentence. Okay, supporting sentences will build on the main idea with your definitions, your explanations, your examples, your evidence. Fitt and Sims note that, due to contradictory research, vaccines have developed a bad reputation with parents. So that's an example of in texts where we've cited somebody who's written an academic article on that particular topic. They know what they're talking about.
And then gonna APA reference that.
And this is APA reference within the
as you're
text. So there are two parts to APA referencing. It's how you write it in the text, and it's your reference list at the end. So both parts are important. But yes, that is an example of how you could incorporate somebody else's article or information into your own essay and your argument. Okay, so what this paragraph is saying is, there's a bit of controversy around the use of vaccinations. Sorry if this is a particular pet peeve of anybody. And then you conclude with, so you might write a couple of supporting sentences, and then conclude with a summary and maybe that link to the next paragraph. In conclusion, many parents are still reluctant to have their children immunised. The consequences of this are significant. And that leads us to the next paragraph where we talk about the consequences. Okay, so just a simple little...
So in the essays, are they expecting us to do those little referencing things throughout it?
Yes, we're expecting you to have a go at doing that, definitely, and that's part of the APA referencing. I'm not sure how many marks are allocated to the APA referencing. I don't think it will be I don't think the referencing will be highly weighted, because at this level you should be learning how to do APA referencing. You shouldn't be masters of it. I think it's about 10%. Writing. There's 5% for your writing, so that's not muddled, it's clear. There's 20% for your research for this one, so you've actually got to do a bit of research, and 5% for your in-text citations and your references. And it's like, you get, if you've made no errors, you get 100% there. If you've made one error, you get sort of 70% or something. But it's, at this level, the point is that you learn how to do it.
Look, I've done 5 years of postgraduates, or not postgraduate, or 3 years postgraduate and 3 years undergraduate, and I still have to look it up and check that I'm doing it right. You don't even know it inside and out, really.
Can you excuse me?
Yes.
Should we
You should do. Okay.
see you
Me tomorrow.
tomorrow night?
Very good.
Emily, something.
Yeah, so around.
See you.
See
So,
ya.
So we'll talk about APA referencing a bit more at that next session, but it's definitely something we expect you to have a go at this level, okay? This is how you're going to learn it.
That's why we're here.
That's why you're here. Thank you. This is a bit of an art. There is an art to it, that's for sure. Grammar. I think I mentioned that briefly. Punctuation, spelling, sentence structure, pronouns, parts of speech, correct tense. Look, I'm not a grammatical whiz either. There's definitely layers of complexity within grammar that probably go beyond a lot of people. But we need to also think about at least trying to make it so that it is more readable and improving the grammar as best as we can. So I'm just going to bring up really useful resource from ARA, actually, the Polytech. Christchurch Poly. And a lot of the stuff I've brought out tonight has come, it's been sourced from their stuff as well. But they've got really useful online resources here. So if grammar isn't your strong point, come in here, have a look. What is grammar? Why is it important? And if you click on each of these things, it'll tell you what are pronouns. A pronoun is used in place of a noun. Kate was tired, so she went to bed. Parts of speech. Adjectives, nouns, adverbs. Okay, if you want to go back to learning all of that, then have a look in through these resources.
So have you got these links on a piece of paper?
I'll send it out. Run-on sentences, commas, full stops, semicolons, when are we supposed to use them? Independent, dependent clauses, coordinated conjunctions, subordinate conjunctions. when to use apostrophes. Apostrophes seem to baffle people for some reason. So have a look. How do you use them? What's the correct tense? And this is what I was talking about, your verb tense endings, your past, your present, your future tense. Keeping those consistent. So that's resources there. Then they've got little examples to look at. They've got some quizzes where you can check your understanding. And then they have got some more resources there and some downloadable resources to have a look at as well. No end of resources and things to help you improve your grammar. Not just that, but they actually have more than just grammar. They have here we go. Yes, they have resources on pretty much everything that we're covering here. Critical thinking, editing and proofreading, essay writing, for editing and proofreading, a guided pathway. How do I proofread? How do I edit? Some of it is, possibly a bit basic for you, but it's also might be interesting for you to just go and explain it to me. Always begin with editing, section, sentences, language, conclusion, understanding, proofreading. Go and have a look, explore, show me, learn more, check my understanding, do the quizzes, have some fun. You can just call that fun.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran or a quiz about grammar and sentence structure. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But yeah, I'll send out all the links for that so you can have a look. I'm not going to, go over that stuff now. We don't have time, but again, grammar. Each of us have strengths with us or weaknesses. Depends, how much you've picked up at school, or maybe just your reading levels and all sorts of things. But if you don't think it's your strong suit, definitely go in and explore those resources, and definitely get somebody to proofread and help with it. Don't rely on spell check and Word to do that for you, because it's not going to be sufficient. Get a peer or a friend or a husband or a daughter to read it and say, Mum, you haven't written this right, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, she'd be telling me I've got adverbs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she probably knows more about adverbs than we do. There's extra quizzes here as well. Quizzes on commas. If you want to go and have a look at a quiz on where to put your commas, go nuts, have fun. Grammar book. There you go. Test, see how good you actually are before you start writing your essays, and we'll come out with some. Jeremy and I have had our share of arguments. Jeremy and I have had our share of arguments. Jeremy and I have had our share of arguments. So Jeremy and I have had our share of arguments. Which would you guys go with? Because you don't need a comma in there. Jeremy and I have had our share of arguments. Why would you need a comma?
Because you're angry, you need to take more.
Excessive use of commas.
You know all about it,
Yeah, I don't even know. I assume I'm right, but yeah, go and have a look. It can be quite fun.
Yeah.
Yes, so there's a whole lot of quizzes, links for quizzes there. How are we going? Are you guys in a hurry to get away at a particular time? I won't. I'll breathe then. So yeah, there is a handout there. That's one of the resources from ARA. So they've got a little handout on most topics. So I just did the paragraph one for you, so you can have that. Mostly because that's got an exemplar that you can look at. I've also got an exemplar here of a long essay. And so this exemplar here actually shows you alongside of, it's annotated there alongside with comments on what she's done and why she's done it like that. Okay. So I think this is about a 1,500 word essay. And this one's actually available also if you like things online. These are available here. There's links. These are Massey University ones. sample essay, so that's the download one I've given you, but you can actually look at sample essay one. Sample essay. Here we go. So here you can. Here's the essay, and this one's a different topic. How can schools make the best use of information technology in the classroom? So there's the essay, and then you can view the comments on and hover over. It'll tell you there's the comment on structure. The essay begins with a general lead into the broad topic. Or if you want to see the comments on formatting, essays are usually double-spaced or 1.5 line spaced. That one's on structure, that one's on structure, that one's on formatting. Abbreviations. Information technology is followed by its abbreviated form in brackets. So whenever you use a new term, you use the full version first and then you abbreviate it in brackets the first time you use it, and then you're allowed to use the abbreviation throughout the essay without.
Can you make up your own abbreviations?
You can, yeah, just be careful of doing too many, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not common practice, normally you would, but if it's a key term that you're using, like I did, my thesis was on realistic job previews, realistic team previews, which there wasn't much around on the realistic team previews, so RTP wasn't a common sort of abbreviation, but you just use that to start out with and say what it is that you're referring to, and then you can use it throughout.
You sort of pop it behind it with the brackets like that, and then I guess it's covered.
Yeah, then once you've done it once, you don't need to do it again.
Yeah.
And then if you want to see comments on referencing, you can pull up the comments on referencing. This in-text citation indicates that the idea presented in the sentence is taken from an outside source. The in-text citation gives the surname of the author, the year the source was published, and it uses the APA style. Different styles of referencing, just to make it confusing. And APA also updates, so they're on to, I think, the 6th edition, but it does change occasionally as well, just to make it more complicated. But APA stands for the American Psychological Association, and it is a well-known academic format for referencing, and it's used very broadly internationally and in New Zealand. So you can, so all of those comments will be on that hard, I think all of them are there on that hard copy, or
That's at Massey.
That's at a Massey University website there. And there's a link on that PowerPoint to that, so you can have a look.
And is that PowerPoint going to be on Moodle?
I can put that on Moodle. Yep, what I might do is do a new course which is called NZ Buzz Learning Support.
That's a good idea. Put all these on it.
And put them all on there.
Yeah.
But really, the ARA Learning Support Hub that I showed you is way more sophisticated and way better than anything we've got.
So we just need the link to that.
So you just need the link to that, and then
Okay.
you'll be fine. They're definitely a bit more advanced in that area than what we are. If you want the link, I'll just email the link through. That'll be the easiest way. That's fine. I'll send it out. Yeah, explore what they've got to offer there. But I will put it up. So there's my acknowledgement that most of this stuff has come from them. There's my APA referencing of the resources that I've used. Proofing your essay, I just missed that last one, but leave yourself plenty of time. I've said this over and over again. Print it out, give it to somebody else, rest on it, come back to it, read it, reread it, do it after a good night's sleep. Don't do it, put your phone away, because it's a really distracting thing. So just, I got a little bling, what's happening in the world, and it doesn't, that'll be the power on my computer doing it. You know, just give yourself that time at the end to spend a bit of time on proofing, make your corrections, and then do the process again. You know, it's not just one-off. You make those changes, go back through it, have another go, have another look. Do you think you have enough information to get started?
I think so.
I think so. There's quite a lot of good information in there to refer back to.
Yeah.
What do you need more of?
I don't really know at this stage. I think when I've started having a crack at it, see where I'm struggling.
You probably need the APA referencing,
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
around that. So hopefully the next few sessions will take care of that.
Yeah.
But then if there's anything else to identify, let me know. It might be that other people are dealing with the same thing, or we can do some stuff one-on-one. We also have student support service people here who are focused on helping with particular things there. Our library staff are great. They will proofread too. Okay, they will help you. They will help you with search out resources that you're looking for. You know, they're just sitting there. Go use them.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're working, but
Yeah.
they could just be doing Sudoku. So go on.
No librarians.
It's a bit quiet.
It's, you know, they love to help. That's what their job is. So make the most of that. Look up those resources I've sent you off to use, and yeah, if we can help you with anything, just let us know.
Sweet.
Cool, thank you.
Was it helpful?
Yes, I think so.
Is it kind of what you were expecting?
Actually, it's probably not really as scary as I was expecting.
Yeah.
Good.